Hello. Hi, Mom. Stare deeply into the camera when you say it.
Welcome to That Worldview Podcast and another episode of Talking Through Things. Today, my guest is Jolly, a good friend of mine, and we've had great fun over the years. We're going to interview him, talk about his experiences, stuff of that nature. We're going to get into podcasting. We're going to get into the Bible a little bit, what kind of gear you should have. So we're going to have a blast. So Jolly, it's good to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, I do.
So how did we meet? I guess, how did that all start? Do you kind of remember roughly when we started hanging out?
Officially, we've met, I don't know, like 10-ish years ago, I think. It was at church. I remember you stopped by one time and then disappeared. Didn't think much of you at the point. And then actually, like, as far as hanging out, I would say, like, actually, as I thought about it more, I think it's like 5 years, maybe 6. Because it was Rona, when Rona hit.
Well, we were for sure hanging out by Rona. But, like, we knew each other for sure before then.
Before then, a little bit, but not too much. But basically, Rona.
We hung out, but we didn't really get to know each other until we became, like, housemates.
Yeah, housemates for sure is when we, had to tolerate each other.
Yeah, and we did some road trips, didn't we?
We've done a little bit of road tripping here and there, yeah. Well, actually, our latest was just coming back up from California. We were at a friend's wedding together. Then we've gone down to California, I guess, yeah. And then we did the Canada trip.
That was fun. Yeah.
Went through Banff.
Yeah, that was fun. Oh, yeah, the Banff. I forgot about that. We took pictures of the big rock in Banff. That's great. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun doing random trips, I think. We've probably done like maybe 4 or 5 over the years.
Random trips that don't include a motorbike.
You're really hoping they would. I wish. I really do, but
well,
you know
plan
me.
all these fancy motorbike trips, and then somebody else bought a motorbike, but somebody else didn't buy a motorbike.
I know. I felt like God never really gave me peace and also the money to do it because I push every motorcycle to the max. Like the last one I rode, I won't give you how fast I went.
Here I come.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Anyway, so that's been fun. What has your past adventures been like as of the last couple years?
Past couple years, well, I've been working in Jackson Hole for the last like 3 winters, so very cool in both senses of the word. Cold.
The job was cool and it was cold.
Ooh, yeah. So yeah, doing seasonal work there over the winters, super cool. Got to meet. I hung out with some of the guys from the local church there that I was going to, so that was cool getting to hang out with them and go skiing, of course, since it's winter in Jackson Hole with all the snow we get. So that was cool. The last bit was actually I worked this summer. That was an answer to prayer overall, because I was praying for like an internet fast or being less so on my phone and a summer job. And it was super cool how the Lord answered that prayer. So I got like this super remote job that you had to either like fly a small plane, like a private pilot plane you had to fly into. You had to hike 20 miles or you had to take a boat like 50 miles to get in. So like there was no roads to this location. So it was a very cool, it was an odd experience overall. I actually had a motorbike like shipped up there. And so over the span of like the summer, like just on this little motorbike, it was a Honda Navi. So it's this little CVT, like 110, just little.
Your knees are probably sticking up this high
of a bike. And just being up there for the summer, like the road, there was a paved road, or like the total road length was like 13 miles, like total for this area. And over the whole summer, I put like over 1,000 miles on that bike, just buzzing up and down the road.
My goodness. That's cool. What else did you do up there?
Let's see. Oh, actually at the beginning of the season, they had a like a skydiving retreat at the place I was working. We would tell them like, hey, we want to go skydive out of the helicopter. So that was a super cool thing. So like we get we get in this helicopter and like follow like the ridge line of this mountain, like up and up and up and up. And it's like mind you, it's May. I think it was still May. So like everything was still covered in snow. Like there was a lake there and you could see like absolutely flat, but it was just covered in like snow and ice still. So things are like going up and up. Of course, your feet like are hanging out the side of this helicopter door.
And wasn't
My fingers were absolutely freezing.
oh, I think I actually remember you telling me this story. Wasn't it like really early in the morning?
Yeah, so it was like 6 a.m. So it was already like
Ugh.
way earlier than I wanted to be up.
High altitude, hanging
High
out of the
altitude,
helicopter.
so you're like 12,000 feet at sunrise. So as we like crested up and over the hill, like it started to like you would break through like the shadows of the mountains up into the sun, and then like jumping at like the 6 a.m. like not everything was sunny, so like the valley was still shadowed. Such a cool experience getting to jump out. And then later that year, after of course all the snow had melted off the mountain, I like hiked up that mountain. I think it was like at roughly 8,000 feet elevation is what the top of that mountain was.
Oof,
So that was a fun little trek up the mountain.
dude, that is so
But
cool.
getting to like fly over it and then later hike that same mountain, that was a pretty sweet gig.
That's great. Being able to jump from a helicopter.
So
I remember actually when you first told me that, I was like, what a lucky punk.
Not everybody can say they parachuted to work.
True story. True story. That's great. And then you also went and helped kind of like a missions trip or whatever, right? To
Oh yeah, so last year I went to Europe. I went specifically to Macedonia, and then we traveled through several other countries as well. Yeah, I talked to a missionary. Well, one of the conferences you and I have gone to down in California several times. I met a missionary there and told him like, oh yeah, I do video work. And he's like, oh, okay, that's cool. So I got his information, but I didn't give him mine. And before I even like landed back in Jackson, he had already texted me like, hey, I want you to come to Macedonia. I'm like, how'd you get my number? So yeah, I went over with him, prayed about it, and talked to like my pastor and my dad and whatnot. And everybody seemed to think it was a green light. So I went over to Macedonia and shot.
I totally forgot about that trip. Wasn't it like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, you
So,
totally forgot about that.
so going over, like I booked my ticket and it wouldn't go through. So I'd talk to the missionary like, hey, I can't get my ticket. It won't go through. And he's like, well, I use this booking agency, use them. So I booked through them. Sure enough, it went through. And so like 3 days later, I checked my account because they should have pulled the money and the money never got pulled. I'm like, what happened here? So I called the airline and they're like, oh no, it's the agent. So I talked to the agent. The agent's like, no, it's the airport or the airline. And so I called the bank just to be safe. The bank's like, yeah, it's not on our end. So I told the missionary, I'm like, well, I have a reservation number. So supposedly I have an airplane ticket. So I'm like, I'll just fly down to Dallas and I'll just meet you. And worst case is I just won't get on the plane. He's like, you're really going to fly down here not knowing? I'm like, yeah, if the Lord wants me to go, I'm going to go. So that all being said is I ended up flying to Europe and back completely free. So that was such a blessing.
I was like, why can't that happen to me more often?
Yeah. So flew over there. But the mission trip itself was for 2 weeks, but I ended up staying there for a month in total. So I stayed 2 weeks after the mission trip because there was other people from Dallas that was going. That's why I flew out of Dallas. But yeah, shot a missions video for him. while I was
That's
over there.
cool.
Traveled to like Greece and Albania, Kosovo. What else was it? There was another one I'm forgetting now, but mainly Macedonia, North Macedonia.
Yeah, that was I enjoyed looking at photos of that trip, and I called you I think a couple times while you were over there, and we just talked about like everything that was going on. And because you told me about you guys would go into those like Orthodox churches that were like super ornate.
Yeah, the
and stuff like
Orthodox
that.
churches were definitely very decorative. Such a different look than American churches.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So that's kind of what you've been doing the last several years is kind of seasonal work, bouncing around, taking these cool trips. So, and then that's during that whole time I was pretty stationary. Right, I was in Wenatchee, and I took
you
trips.
Just sat in Wenatchee.
I did go to Thailand once for a bit, and then I went to Africa for a little bit. But
what was the other one you went to?
during that time frame, it was I think just Africa and Thailand.
I thought there was another one.
I think it was. I did a couple domestic trips, like different
Okay.
conferences that you weren't with me on, but yeah. So you and I, like, we spent a little bit of time together, but for the last couple of years, once I moved out, because I moved out first before you started traveling again.
Yeah, so we were housemates for like two years or something.
Yeah,
like that.
2 years.
Yeah.
But no, that was a blast. So next on your how'd you get into photography? Because you had a business in lawn care. You did a ton of lawn care stuff. So that was kind of a side gig.
Yeah, photography. So I want to say I was 13 when I got my first camera. One of the other guys in youth group had a camera, and he like basically blackmailed pictures of people. But I'm like,
Charge your money.
I'm like, oh, I can do this. So yeah, I bought a little point and shoot. I ended up like blowing through 3 of them within like a year and a half, just because I used and abused them so much. Used, I don't know how many terabytes of data at the time, filling them up. So that was, yeah, my initial beginnings. And then since then, like starting from just a basic point and shoot, like I've had mid-level DSLRs and now into like full mirrorless gear currently.
That's
So,
cool.
Yeah, that's more or less where I started from.
And then you just kind of just the gear developed and everything else kind of developed with it.
Yep.
Nice. What are your I guess what are your experiences, or because you've done a little bit of work with them and done other things? What's your work experience like with some of that stuff?
Well, let's see. I've shot a few different like business things. That mission video. I've done photos and video for different weddings, and then doing like family photos. Actually, it was a spring. We did a family trip with my folks and my sister's family and whatnot to the ocean. And I'm like, hey, if we're going there, let's do what are they called? I can't think of the name right now. Video portrait. So I told my sister, I'm like, hey,
okay.
I'm going to get you a dress and shoes and a hat. Like, I want you to wear this particular style. We'll do like a video portrait. So just little things like that. A lot of the stuff I do is more like reels based, but I definitely do longer form content.
Speaking of that, if anyone wants to look up his stuff, what's your Instagram tag?
My personal is Photographer Joel.
Photographer Joel. I'll probably link it in the bio or something, but he's got some great stuff that I like. He's definitely, we balance each other out well because you're a perfectionist in a lot of ways and I'm not. I'm more of the visionary. So yeah, it's been cool. It's been cool to work together and all that.
Well, even like working together, we did, that was like a year and a half ago, again, in California, where you want to do like some podcasts, like your very, very beginnings of podcasting.
My very first interview ideas.
Origins, yeah. Started in California. We did like 6 or 7. So like I brought all the gear and you did the podcast.
I didn't have anything when it came to gear. I just had the ideas and I was like, Jolie, I need your gear.
Yeah, I had the gear. So that's where we kind of started working together.
Yeah. And that was fun. Like, I remember all we did was we just found, I think the nursery was like,
the nursery was the only place we could do
was the only place that like looked halfway decent. We brought some props in.
Yeah.
Those videos I don't even think are online anymore.
No.
But we had them online for a while, but to where we are now, like we definitely came a long way because those weren't even, did we color grade those or anything?
No.
It was just like straight out of the camera.
I barely knew how to run DaVinci at that point.
Oh man. So we worked on that project. What were other projects we worked on?
Well, even like the different years that we've been at that same conference, like I've handed you my cameras and like, here, go shoot some headshots of different people and stuff that we can use. And then like we went to Canada and shot photos for a young adults conference there as well. Actually, the gospel video for church when we were both in Washington that were worked on. That was actually a fun learning curve, getting to work with each other, just doing the videos, because you're good at like the big picture concepts. I'm a lot better at doing like the micro details and like, oh, let's adjust this keyframe over here. Let's correct this contrast a little bit here. Like this needs to be a little brighter. It's a little darker. Add this effect here, and like changing things up. So you did good with the big picture things. I remember because I was working like a few odd jobs during that time. So I'd buy like steak or whatever and bring it over, and like then you would fry up the steak on. I'm sitting there editing.
Yeah, we would eat steaks at like midnight and edit. That was a blast.
So we did that.
I think a lot of my early photography experience or lessons came from you in those like California, because I'd take a bunch of pictures and you're like, junk, decent, junk. I was like, okay, No, and the gospel video, that kind of started with, I kind of came up with the idea of a church ministry with a gospel, with I guess more of a modern concept. And then you and I started storyboarding with Micaiah Mears, that video. Yeah, we built a speech for that, and we're actually using that now for a new video you and I are building.
Yeah, the one we're going to be working on here. Yeah.
So basic idea, but just changing some of the styles and stuff like that.
Yeah. Making it a little more relevant for this specific location.
Yeah, yeah. And we spent a lot of time on that video. I know I actually tracked my time. It was just over 40 hours for a 5-minute video. And that was like building the speech, putting all the verses in place. My voice was part of it.
Yeah, you did voice, and we had somebody else do reading the verses. So we had like 2 voiceovers. No talking heads, all voiceover.
Yeah, getting all the stock shots, stock footage.
Yeah.
And then after I spent my 40 hours, you would come in and do. I think you spent anywhere from 9 to 18 hours with all the detail stuff.
I don't know.
'Cause I didn't track yours, but there was several nights you came over and we spent hours just looking at it, rewatching that video. So
changing the font. And changing the font.
changing
the color of the font. And then changing the color
and after we did all that work, you still don't like the color of the fonts. No,
some of those are still not.
Yeah, you still don't like them.
But at least it's an acceptable video now.
Yeah, it is. That's true. I think I launched I remember launching like kind of like a prelude and it wasn't quite right. And you like scolded me. You're like, what? We're not even done with that video yet. I'm like, sorry. So we went back, did more work.
Patience.
Yeah, I'm not patient. Well, you know that. You know that all too well. So that's the work we did together. What are some tips about photography that you've kind of learned?
Patience.
Yeah, patience. Who'd you learn that from? David.
No, that's what I tried to teach you. Yeah. So when you have
No. You learned from me because you saw my crappy work and you were like, I need to make sure there's more patience involved.
So on that same vein of thought is when you're doing a video, like you think you have an absolute stellar like video and you're like, oh yeah, this is great. You like stay up to 1 or 2 editing it. You like want to post it right away. Well, 1 or 2 in the morning is not the best time to post, at least for social media.
For sure.
Because it's going to get buried way down. So, but secondarily and most importantly is if you wait just 3 days and you go back and watch it, you're going to be like, oh yeah, this needs changed, that needs changed, this is trash, like that transition, this music beat. And you'll start to see more. And then once you've finally like had your patience and like waited 3 days and like kind of micro tweaked everything back, maybe wait like another week or at least another 2 or 3 days. And then like, just like, don't watch it for that period of time and then go watch it and be like, then you can decide like, okay, I'm happy. I'm satisfied. This is a good video. Now I'm willing to publish it. Like, don't get too hasty in your postings, especially like if you're working for businesses, like you can't just be publishing like, oh, it looks good enough. And then your color's like way off. And the next morning you're like, whoa, why did I publish a like yellow and blue versus like getting all your colors actually correct?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true.
That's one tip. I mean, as far as like tips.
One of your other tips is just shoot. Like just
yeah.
What's the phrase you use? I'm trying to remember.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
So analysis paralysis, I mean, it's so true because like when I started out, I had one camera that had like its little zoom in and zoom out lens. And I'm like, oh, this is what I have. I can shoot this. I can shoot that. I didn't know any different. I didn't know any better. But then once you start to get nicer gear and you've got like, well, I could use this or I could use that, or maybe I'll shoot this, but then I could do a wide, but maybe I'll shoot it on a like telephoto. But no, I just forget it. I'm just not going to shoot anything. So then that's the analysis paralysis theory where you could do it so many different ways. So like when I came down here for this trip, especially, I only brought one camera and one lens. Like I'm not bringing all my gear with me. Mm-hmm. So like it has forced me for the stuff I've shot for you already. Like this is what I have. This is what I have to work with. I will just shoot everything in this way. And it forces you to like get more accustomed to the gear you have. Makes you take more consideration into the shots, how you're going to shoot it. Because instead of thinking, well, I'll just switch over to this secondary or this third camera. No, you're stuck with one camera. So just because you have nice gear and you've spent multiple thousands or whatever, hundreds of thousands when you get into the real nice cameras, just because you have the gear does not make you a professional by any means. You still have to understand like how to shoot, what angles to shoot, like the color, the contrast. And that's something I've been learning here with you, like using these big fill lights. Like this is nothing I've ever played with. So it's been a learning curve for me, kind of getting used to these. It's like, ooh, more to spend my money on. So it's been super fun just like getting to use your lights and setup and helping you tweak the studio here to get the angles and the lighting just right. So that's been, yeah, one bit of advice I'd have.
Yeah, the other thing that I think you've talked about that I liked was, well, you kind of already mentioned it, but it was, I think people have this false idea that having good equipment means getting better, and that's just not true. Like I've noticed with film, you've got some nice cameras, and when I'll shoot with them, they still, you know, like my skill level still shows in the camera. It's like, it's not that great, or you didn't get this shot right. I could use a cheaper camera and it's still going to be the same, right? So yes, gear can make everything better, but if you don't have the skill to operate the gear, you're going to be at that base level no matter what. You know, if you're shooting 8K, it doesn't even matter, you know, because the concept's still aren't quite there.
At that point, just continue shooting with your iPhone. Don't even waste the money on buying fancy gear.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Because at least then you start to get an idea. Also, one rant I would go on is shoot horizontal, don't shoot vertical. Like get away. What's the saying? Make horizontal great again.
Make horizontal great again.
This way.
Well, reels have really and iPhones have really made vertical shoot through
It
the
has,
roof.
but I mean the easy way to get around that I do, and I see a lot of like actually quality content producers do, is they shoot everything horizontal, but then they just rotate it. So it's technically vertical, but it's into the horizontal. So you just rotate your phone sideways. So you still get the full view instead of the
Right.
up and down.
Oh, because like
nonsense.
social media, they'll have like that little phone animation where it's like tilt your phone sideways, you know? Yeah, that makes sense.
Going on that note of social media, if you're actually wanting to get better, one thing that I have done is take a notepad. Well, I'll download like a clip that I really, really like, and then I'll take a notepad and like literally frame by frame, like I'll write down, it's a medium shot at this, or it's a wide shot this way. Like I'll start breaking down literally frame by frame, like different things. So then I can go out and try to emulate that same shooting style, which has been super helpful for me in getting different things. And even just like going to YouTube and looking up, like there's so many valuable resources on YouTube University. You can learn from. Like there's a lot of contents that's just fluff. Like you have your top tier of educators on how to shoot content and videos and like settings. And then you have like all the other people under them who basically take those videos and then just regurgitate the information and have no clue what they're talking about. So you have to kind of weed your way through. But that being said, like if you can get some of the good channels, that is definitely a valuable resource on learning how to run the camera, learning on what angles to shoot, learning how to get good sound design, learning on your lighting techniques, learning how to run DaVinci Resolve, something that you and I have been working our way through learning.
Yeah, no, it's so true.
I mean, that's some other things.
Another tip that you've been talking about is if you want to get into this, making the time to watch good content and actually learning from that content is like.
But don't be just strictly a consumer, because I mean, you can fall into the rabbit hole of, I'll just sit here and watch these awesome edits of this guy's trip to Bali. Well, yeah, sure, it's great, but then if you don't even pick up your camera and go out and try to shoot anything,
right,
you're just a consumer at that point. You're not actually learning to learn.
Mm-hmm. Or even taking notes on planning your shoot, stuff like that. Yeah.
And you're not going to nail it right the first time. Like talking about breaking scenes down frame by frame. Like I've gone out and like tried to like, okay, how can I reshoot this now? And like some of my shots worked out good and other of my shots have just been an absolute failure.
Yeah.
But you have to get out and try. And that's one thing that I'm very particular about, is I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to like what I publish. I was saying, like, you edit it and then you wait a few days and you relook at it and then you retweak everything. Well, if you can get some of that as you shoot, that's half your battle. But being a perfectionist, you shoot a whole bunch of stuff. So like I've got hard drives full of stuff that I've never published just because it's not perfectly right for me. So therefore I won't publish it. So I'm very particular on what I actually publish.
Yeah.
I'll publish some stuff with micro errors in them, but for the most part, I try to be like, if I'm going to put content out, I want it actually decent.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the one last thing that you and I were talking about was, and that you helped me with, was shooting, if you're especially in videography, shooting a story, being able to tell the story with video, not with captions or with audio.
Yeah. Well, like the last adventure you and I just did, travel like 2-3 hours away from here a couple days ago. And I'm like, if all the audio was lost and like the talking headshots were lost, would you still be able to paint the picture of what we did and how we did it? So like shooting in the car, shooting the lines passing by on the road, shooting in the mirror of the car, shooting. And then once we like arrive at the location, and then like a panning shot, like then like the building and you walking into the door, like breaking it down like step by step of like, this is where we started, this is where we ended, but then how are we going to paint the picture in between of how did we actually get there? So like thinking through, how can I show somebody that even like with no audio, so you're sitting there with your headphones off or whatever, and you don't have the audio on, like they can still visibly see point A, point B, and how you, or see so on, how you got to that spot. So yeah, being able to paint the picture visually.
Yeah, that is something that,
not just like sticking the camera like, oh, well, oh yeah, oh sure, oh, and then it's just a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
Like actually thinking through this angle, this movement, this angle, this movement, and so on.
Yeah, no, it's good.
So as we've been talking about like the different gear and whatnot, what actually got you, like, why did you start podcasting even? I mean, obviously we're in your fancy studio here. Like how did you get into it? Why, I guess more specifically, did you get into podcasting?
So podcasting, I'd wanted to start a podcast for a while. I think I used to run a blog way back in the day. And I was like, I really do like teaching things that I learn. But I really don't do it. There's a pride factor with everybody, but I really want to do it because I want people to learn and grow like I have from the information that I'm learning. And that I think was kind of the reason behind it. But then God started showing me the impact. So for an example, when Trump, Barron Trump told his dad, hey, you need to get on some of these younger podcasts. Now, some of them, like, I wouldn't even suggest listening to, but he got on some people may know, like the Nelk Boys. He got onto Joe Rogan. He got onto Theo Vaughn. I think there was like 7. Those are the ones I can remember off the top of my head. But like Joe Rogan's podcast, within like, I think it was a couple weeks or a month, got 100 million views on all the platforms. That doesn't, and what it did was the Lord kind of used that to show me that, hey, this is the medium of the future when it comes to people looking and seeking information and then educating themselves on the topic.
Yeah. So not necessarily sticking to like the big name TV stations or whatnot, like being independent, different people giving.
Right. So like for an case in point in the past, media has been very expensive, hard to get. Right. Yes. There was a lot of development. So the only people that could afford to have like a quote unquote podcast or anchor platform, which is what Legacy Media was someone who had hundreds of thousands of dollars and space to hold a camera that was the size of a pickup truck. Right. Like, you know, when you look at some of those old cameras, you're like, oh my goodness. Yeah. But technology has gotten to the point now where anyone who has some really good thoughts can afford to get some microphones, get some cameras, and with some diligence, they can actually put together a legacy media kind of quality output, right? And so podcasting kind of took off, and they can't control the like agenda or the information flow because everyone can do it now. And so really during Trump's election, his second one about a year ago, God really kind of showed me and said, okay, it's time to start a podcast because of how rampant information was moving through podcasts. And it is, I think, the medium of, at least for sure, several decades of how people are just going to learn and grow and look at different points of view and decipher what's true and what's false. Yeah. And Christians need to be in that realm.
Yeah. Well, so then on that note, as Christians being in the podcasting realm, like what part do you think it has to do with like modern evangelizing, like social media, and like even like the old fashioned way of like door knocking? I would consider it old fashioned way of like knocking on doors. Here, buy my spiritual vacuum cleaner, you know? Like how do you think that all then plays into it? Like, what's your thoughts?
So I would say, we'll start with Acts. When you read Acts, you and I have talked about this to some degree, and I love studying Acts. When you look at what, get my bearings straight. So when you look at what Paul did, Paul went to religious centers. He went to religious centers, schools, and markets. The marketplace. Right? Now, I consider the internet to be the modern marketplace, right?
Amazon.
Yeah, right. Everyone shops online nowadays. Everyone, right? the social media, like half
Yeah.
the reason people went to markets and went to open centers was to socialize.
Socialize.
Right. So, but nowadays, unless
Social
you have a
media.
very specific reason for meeting friends, you don't really go out unless there's a specific reason. So
Yeah.
really the social context of today's world is the media.
Yeah. Long gone are the days of sitting on your porch and waving at your neighbor.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't even remember the last time I sat on my porch, right? Like, so I really do believe that you're going to reach this next generation by getting into that marketplace of the internet, right? And and like the statistics are out, and I'm being very conservative. Most people spend anywhere from 5 to 8 hours a day on their phone.
Yeah.
And it's more than that in many different other specific ratios, right, of time that people use. So people are already on their phones all day, every day. Why not target that area of content? Because the other thing, like I'll hit door knocking. Now, I will say, I'll say now, I'm not saying that door knocking is never effective. I'm not saying that. I think there are countries where it's much more effective because of the context and even the lack of media in those countries.
But
that's
specifically
slowly
here
going
for
away.
America,
Right.
it's
Yeah, for here in America,
dying.
I'm not saying
operation.
that it can't have some fruit, but if someone was going to take an honest look, and I did this in my one of my past churches, I don't want to throw them under the bus. So I'm not going to say who, but I spent many years when I was like growing up as a teenager where we had a plan, and it was to reach this city. Every 4 years, we were trying to canvass the whole city, and we did do that. And we were there for roughly 9 years, and we canvassed the whole thing. And I could have missed a few for sure, but I don't remember any more than like maybe 4. And even there, I'm gapping of 4 people that actually came, got saved, and stayed in the church and became like good Christians, growing because of our door knocking. Like I can't name hardly 4 in 9 years. So all I'm saying with that is it's a way to evangelize, but it's a far cry from being the effective way of evangelism. And again, I'm not trying to bash on anybody's parade, but if we're looking at door knocking as the future of our evangelism, we're going to lose the next generation.
Yeah.
We
well,
will.
like you think about the door knocking, like sure, you can go knock on somebody's door, but if they don't want to talk to you, they're not going to talk to you. So why would you keep beating your head against their door if
Yeah.
it's not working?
That's-
meet them in their kitchen when they're sitting there waiting for the boiled eggs or whatever,
Yeah.
to boil. Like they're sitting
Yeah.
there swiping their phone when they're in their bed trying to go to sleep. What are they doing? They're on their phone. Don't waste your time at the front door. Meet them in their house on the means that they are readily.
Yeah,
open.
and you bring up a good point there is that in the past, when people, before like the internet, before even phones and any of that, even when phones were a thing, but they were very, like you had to call by landline, if you wanted to meet someone, you either met them where they worked, where they were going, or you met them at home. So it was very common for people to just show up at your home because they needed to meet you about something, or they needed to talk, or they wanted to talk. So people were always expecting to have someone show up at some time to talk about something, because that's how you reached people, right? You couldn't text or call, right?
Yeah.
And so it was very common. And it was like, oh, people are over, great. Well, you talked, did whatever. But now, like if I were to just show up at someone's house and saying, hey, by the way, I want to let you know, work's at 8:00 tomorrow. See ya. And then you just walk, like, just text me, call me.
Random.
Right. Random. Right. And because of the way social media works and how much communication you can have without meeting someone in person, if a stranger shows up at your door, which is kind of like your home, your sanctuary, you're already alarmed, unless they're there for a reason. Like they're there to,
Clean the pool.
yeah, clean the pool, or they're there to give you, fix your internet or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or you've invited them
Yeah.
over. But if
Yeah,
someone just shows up like
like,
salesman,
what are you
cold
doing?
calling, or
Yeah.
door-to-door salesman, quite frankly, people don't like those dudes.
Get off my lawn.
It's like, get out of here. I don't care, right? And
Yeah.
so why would you try to reach them in a way that they kind of see as a bit hostile?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying it doesn't work 100% at all. I'm just saying we will not reach the world that
Much
way.
more valid ways of reaching everyone in
Right.
today's current society.
Like you and I are kind of working on this now. I would say build a gospel video, build
yeah.
gospel content,
Yeah.
QR code stuff, use geofencing around your church. I mean, for people that have questions, you can DM me or comment for a lot of this stuff, but there's great strategies. And I've already seen people starting to do this in other churches. I'm behind the ball in some of it, but there's amazing networking strategies that you can use in the social media realm and in the internet realm
Mm-hmm.
that we aren't even not, especially in the conservative world, we're not even tapping into
Ooh,
because we're too old fashioned,
yeah.
you know? So we have to get in there. We have to,
There are a few though good like YouTube channels that I found in the conservative world that
Yeah,
are
there's a couple.
starting to put out like some actually pretty high quality content.
Yeah.
Missions videos specifically.
Mhm.
And it's like, ooh, we gotta step up our game now.
We do.
Somebody's setting the bar for us. So now we gotta meet it or exceed it.
yeah. So, you know, having that said, I think that podcasting and social media content creation is the way of informing people. Now, I will say this because I had one older person come to me and say, well, you're saying that's all we should do? And I'm like, no. It should end in one-on-one discipleship, reaching the world. But you have to reach people somehow. And that's the way that they're looking. When people are looking at their phone, they're looking to see something new. They're looking to see something entertaining, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why you scroll. That's why doom scrolling is a thing. You're looking at the next cool thing that you can, you know, so if you can you need to reach people with the gospel and with your content where they want to see new content. And therefore they're not alarmed when they see it. They're like, oh, that's interesting. And especially if you can catch them with a really good hook, like, are you going to hell? Hey, if you're religious in any sense, you kind of want to know if you're going to hell or not, right? So if you can make content like that and put it out there and make it quality, make a lot of it, right? And put it out there, like, it will really help you, you know, and your church growth. I think.
So as far as like the podcast and then like what is some basic simple gear, even like how did you start? Like what gear did you start with when you went into podcasting?
I started out with a whole lot of nothing. I bought like a $50 mic that looks something like this. And I would say, so for a mobile, I'll kind of break it down. For a mobile podcast setup, that's also very budget. The most budget and mobile you can go is like a good iPhone, you know, newer iPhone that has a decent camera with, you know, you just set that up there and then get like some DJI minis, right? You can look up all the stuff that I'm saying for those watching. Yeah. Microphones, DJI minis. Another great mobile setup for microphones is the Hollyland Lark M2s are great. They're super minimal Rode mics. There's the Wireless Me. There's the Rode Pro mics. There's a bunch of different mics out there, but those are the main ones that I know have been like proven and that are like quality that a lot of people use. You can buy them for, you know, a high dollar of $350, or most of them are range around $150 or lower. I got my DJI minis for $90, 96 or something like that. And you can hook them to anything. So for a mobile, very budget setup, all you need is a phone that you can set up and mics that you can hook to you, hook to the other guy, do a recording.
Yeah. Right? On that note, audio is like one of the most important things. Like the video can be pretty much black and white and pixelated, but if your audio is like mint clear, like people are still probably going to watch.
Yeah.
And then once you upgrade to like full color and like really crisp video coloring, like especially they're going to watch.
Yeah.
But if your audio's like slightly gurgled or muffled, forget it. They're swiping.
No, that's very true. Like most of the podcasts I listen to, they do video, but I only do audio. I actually think one of the best reasons for video podcasts is for clips. For social media clips, because someone may not watch, you know, an hour episode or 2 hours, but if they're scrolling and you, like with Opus Clip, make a bunch of clips, they'll watch a 15-second thing and they may go, man, that's what he said was really good in that clip. I want to go listen to the podcast now.
Yeah.
So video is really good for that. When you can make reels and clips out of them of just good information. Yeah. So, but yes, I totally agree with you that audio is key. I think when I started, I didn't even have video. I started with a microphone.
Right. You did like how many episodes?
I did like 23 episodes without video.
Without any video, just audio.
Yeah, all that's on there is just my logo and my. When it started, it was like a really bad mic, and then someone donated a couple $100 so I could buy some better quality gear. Well, they didn't donate for that, but God was like, "You're using that money for that," you know, because I needed it. But
so humble beginnings, and then now you've currently got this very nice studio setup here with way nicer equipment. Like, what do you recommend then as far as like maybe a studio setup if someone is looking to actually blow some good money on quality gear?
So I would say some of the things. So there's a couple things that you're looking for when it comes to building a good like studio setup, right? One is how can my gear minimize my time expenditure? So like for an example, I have a Rodecaster video Those are $1,600. But you can get the ATM, the Blackmagic ATMs, which are about 600, which are a lot cheaper, and they have this feature called AFV, audio follows video. And I'm just using this as an example for like time management, where it may not have like the exact clipping you want necessarily, but it automatically, depending on who's speaking and the priority scale, it automatically clips up your two or three camera angles to where you can literally just put a little intro, little outro, and spit it out. So I say that to say that gear does matter if you can use the features,
It
right?
saves a lot of time. 'Cause like when we did the very beginning podcast there in California, like I spent hours editing between camera A, the wide angle, and camera B, the tight shot of the interviewee. And like, oh,
I remember you called me like, dude, I'm done with this. Like so much editing.
So much time compared to what you're describing. So much simpler.
Yeah, so much simpler. And there are, anyway, so that's just an example where gear helps. So like the system we have now, I've got a 3-camera setup. So that obviously for those watching, you've got Joel's camera specifically, you've got mine, hello. And then you have the wide angle, the wide shot. And
what he's referring to is I've got a 360 camera set up just out of shot of this
main. And then he's got its own little 360 setup too for kicks and giggles. But then you have for a studio, you need you need video, you need lighting, right? So right now, for those you can't see because it's out of shot, but I got a big old light behind me here. There's a light right there. We've got a hair light back there, and then you can see our accent purple lights or white light behind us, right? So for a studio, you need lighting. You need...
And what's the importance of the lighting? Like, well, how does that change?
So it makes it much more pleasant to look at.
Oh, the mood in here is definitely on point.
Yeah. But it also helps with, for an example, there's a difference between like hard light or hard light lines and softer light. So for an example, not only do you need lights, but you need diffusers. So like the lights that we have running, we have diffusers on them to make this light hit softer on the face. It actually makes your face look better. It really does. Except when you don't have like that hard light, because hard light also brings out like blemishes and stuff. Yeah. So having good lighting just totally brings your video to the next level, your videoing to the next level. I don't remember who said it, but there was a guy I listened to and he said, lighting makes your camera quality go up. So for an example, if you have a $2,000 camera and you've got good lighting, it now looks like a $4,000 camera. Your lighting really helps your camera quality. Yeah, so I would say, trying to kind of concisely put this together for a studio, you have your video, which is this obviously. You have your lighting. It's a massive key element. And then you have your sound. Here we have XLR microphones, and it's going right into our soundboard. And then the soundboard is like the brain that records everything, that kind of mixes everything. And then from there, I take it into editing. So that's kind of the main systems of an episode. And for anyone who like wants to find more details on this, there's lots of different guides you can find on how to set up podcasts, what equipment to use, right? Really, it's endless what you can learn on
YouTube University.
YouTube University. And I would say that if you're looking to like budget, again, like when it comes to camera gear, the sky's the limit, or any kind of tech gear. Yeah. I mean, I've seen on video, not in person, but I've seen setups that are like hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? This setup, I mean, I got some good deals here and there, but like I'm pretty gonna have to give a real rough estimate, but this setup costs anywhere from like $8,000 to $11,000, right? For this kind of setup. And for me, that actually includes like the chairs, a lot of everything, like even the soundboards behind us. Yeah. Sound panels. And I would say this is more of like a church. Like say a church really wanted to get into podcasting and putting out good content, this is what you would look at roughly. Yeah. And again, you can make your budget go up and down by hundreds or thousands depending on what gear you decide to cut, what gear you decide to add.
Yeah. Yeah. So then once you've gotten your podcast edited and whatnot, then what do you do with it?
So I'll just give a quick, because this will probably be somewhat helpful, but I'll give a quick, maybe a little bit of workflow of what it is to edit a podcast and then how you would distribute it to the world, right? So when it comes to editing, I won't go into all of it, but I started with DaVinci, like you use, and then I went to CapCut because it was a lot simpler. Now, the reason I went to CapCut was because it was simpler and it had some cool features.
It is a good resource.
It is.
If you're actually going to do it seriously, DaVinci.
Well, I would say this. If you are just too overwhelmed with something like DaVinci, start CapCut, learn that system, and then if it gets serious, move to DaVinci.
And the other pro to DaVinci is it's a one-time payment compared to CapCut. You're getting charged monthly.
Yeah, with CapCut, they have
Yeah.
Like I just bought the studio version of DaVinci, which is like all in one payment.
One-time payment, you're done.
Yeah. So I would say you need an editing software, right? So where you can add your intro music and your little effects that I have that I change a lot because I'm still learning. And then you have your outro stuff, right? So once you get that edited, you get the video rendered, which means like compiled and completely put together. Then now you need a place to post it, right? Well, you need a podcast host. So what I use is a Spotify, Spotify host as my host. So for an example, most people when they see Spotify, it's green and black or whatever. But the host platform is purple. So you'll see it's called Spotify Connect. And so you get on Spotify Connect, you set up an account like you would a Facebook account or Instagram, real simple information. You put your podcast name in there, you put all the different, I don't know what that was. Oh, well, you put in all the different information you need. And then once you publish, so then it says like, here, put your video in. So then you can download your video that you've just edited, put in the details, the description, the title. Once you've done that, you post your first video, then it'll give you an RSS feed. An RSS code. What that is that actually makes it to where you can distribute your podcast to other platforms. So for an example, So for an example, like right now I'm having a little bit of trouble with some of that. So I have an RSS feed for my host platform, which is on Spotify. And then I can go to Apple Connect and then I can claim my podcast. And then I put my RSS feed in to where when I publish something on Spotify, it instantly also publishes the title, the description, everything over to Apple as well. So I don't even have to touch Apple anymore once I'm done setting it up. The same is true for YouTube. Now I'm having a little trouble with YouTube just because I switched, a couple months ago to video and for some reason it doesn't want to move over. So right now I post them both separately, but exactly the same description and all that stuff. So like right now my podcast is on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. Which are the main platforms. I've tried to post to other platforms, right? There's like Amazon Music, there's Podbean, there's all these other random ones. I've always found that those are the absolute heartache to deal with. They're just a pain in the butt to deal with. So I don't even care to even post those. And really, there's not much traffic on them anyway. Like everyone pretty much, even in other countries, like right now, I think I have 20 countries now, or people from those countries have tuned into my podcast. Now, most of them, it's like one person tuned in from like Germany, right? But what I found is most people, even in other countries, the 20 other countries that I have that people listen from, they're all still using YouTube. They're using Spotify. Yeah, right?
YouTube, Spotify. Yeah.
So
that'd be good to start YouTube and Spotify.
Quite frankly, I don't really see why you need to go farther unless you're getting on like maybe Rumble, right? Because there's other media platforms that are like more conservative, So you've got like Rumble, and I'm sure there's other ones out there. But those are the ones that I would go to. But just making sure you have a host platform, which is what I use is Spotify Connect. And then once you get your RSS feed, which you only get once you publish the first episode, then you can connect that RSS feed to other programs to where all your other stuff you publish, goes right up. Something else I will say about this too is that podcasting is great, but you need to reach out into your different audiences. So for an example, you have your podcast host, and then from there, you need to be able to pull people into your podcast, which is where your reels come in. So for an example, there's different platforms you could use, or you can do it manually. I use Opus Clip, which I pay a subscription, and they AI generate clips that I can overlook, make sure I like them. They give me a description. I check it all. If I like it, then I post those clips. So I have like an Instagram account for my podcast. I've got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, obviously. And then I got a couple more Facebook. I think I got 5 in total. And, and X. I have X as well. So what I do is Opus Clip makes it easy. I just log all of these social media platforms into my Opus Clip, and then I just publish on Opus Clip, and it instantly sends all of those reels to all of my different social media accounts. So then when people see on, like right now, I think I'm not very popular on anything really, but like one of my videos on TikTok has like over 5,000 views. I'm like, what? And I've gotten followers from that. I've gotten actually people that have watched my YouTube channel from that.
Yeah.
So those are like the nets that kind of people see, wow, I kind of like this podcast, and that pulls in the interest. I think literally, just to give an example, when I started clipping, and putting out reels on social media, on Instagram, I instantly got like 20 followers within like 5 days because I was actually reaching out into the social media world.
Yeah.
So podcasting is great, but you really need that social media content reach.
Going out into the market.
Exactly. Going out into the market to get that pull in. Because when was the last time you went and said, oh, I'm going to look up a random podcast that I heard once about, and I'm going to watch a 2-hour interview? Nobody, right?
No.
Yeah. So you need that reach into those platforms. Yeah. So that's kind of what I would say on that. And I think that's all of them, all the different questions. Do you have any closing thoughts or anything you
go out and shoot?
Yeah, go and shoot. Go shoot content. Start doing something.
Maybe garbage to begin with, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, we all start with garbage in this industry. You just do, like, because you don't know. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you guys have any questions for me, for Joel, right, just let us know. We can answer those questions. We will answer those questions as best we can. We're still learning, so we might go, oh, that's a good question. Let me do some research, right?
Hey, friend, Google, how do I do such and such?
Yeah. So, and just remember, like, the reason we do this is so that people can know the gospel, so that people can know the truth. That's the only reason I do it, is to get the gospel out there, to get the truth out there, to be effective in the ways that are effective in today's world. So, having all that said, Jolly, thank you for being on the podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.